Hello everybody, my name is Sheila SL Reads, and today I'm going to be doing my June wrap-up and July TBR. In June I read 5 books, and I actually completed my reading goal. I'm actually 1 book over my reading goal right now, so I've read 51 books so far this year, and that is crazy. I don't know how I did that, especially like most of my reading happened when I was like super busy at school, and that's probably not the best thing, but like I did really well in school and I read a lot of books, so I guess I'm just winning in that aspect of my life at the moment. So the first book that I read this month was The Clue in the Jewel Box by Carolyn Keene, which is the 20th Nancy Drew book. I have not read 20 of these. I think I've read a few less than that, but this was probably like my least favorite Nancy Drew actually. Like I am always talking about how much I like Nancy Drew, and for some reason this one just like didn't do it for me. I thought that it was very repetitive and it just kind of irritated me, and I think at some point, it might have been right around when this was published, like the author changed because like Carolyn Keene is a pseudonym, I think, but I'm really not sure. But yeah, this was not like very fun, so I think I'm gonna lay off the Nancy Drew for a while until I'm like really interested in it, and then I'm gonna read it again and hopefully it'll be better then. The next book that I read was Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead by Tom Stoppard. This was so weird. This is a play that is based off of Hamlet by William Shakespeare. And I love Shakespeare and I love Hamlet, and so I wanted to pick this up. Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are 2 of the minor characters. Their role in Hamlet is that they come to aid Claudius, who is the king who is kind of like going up against Hamlet, and they're supposed to be spying on Hamlet. And Hamlet finds out eventually and kills them. And that's literally like, they just pop up out of nowhere, they're Hamlet's friends from school, and then they don't really do anything. And then they just get killed, like, off stage. It's very strange. And that's kind of conveyed in this. I feel like this would be a lot better to see than to read because there's lots of back and forth dialogue. And it's very, very confusing. That's kind of the point of it, is it's supposed to show, like, they don't really have a reason to be there, but they're there for some reason, and it's them kind of reflecting on that, and they don't know who they are, and they, like, keep switching their own names around, and they're just, like, so confused, and I'm confused. They're on a boat. I have no clue what's going on. The next book that I read was Running with Lions by Julian Winters. I read this as an ebook, and it was fantastic. I got this because I really liked the cover of it, and it reminded me of an art style that a fan artist on Tumblr has, and I like messaged her about it, and I was like, did you draw this? Because that'd be so cool. I definitely want to read it. This artist did not draw it, but I ended up buying it anyways because it was on sale, and I don't know, it just looked cool. It's about soccer, which I understand literally nothing about. Like, soccer's not my least favorite sport, but I'm just so indifferent to it because I have no idea like what soccer is. Like, I don't know the rules. I've played soccer in gym, but like I don't think I was playing by any rules. I think I was just kicking the ball and trying not to fall down. But yeah, I don't think that's what the rules are. This book has a lot of representation in it. There's lots of gay and bisexual characters. I believe the main character is bisexual, and then his love interest is gay and also Muslim. The whole thing about this soccer team that this kid is on is it's very inclusive. The coach like refuses to let sexual orientation or anything like that really impact the game that you're playing. It's kind of like, you're here to play this game. Love who you want, be who you are, and we will accept you no matter what, which is a great philosophy to live by. But it turned out that a lot of the players in the team, a lot of the characters were actually members of the LGBT community, and it was like more than I was expecting. It was just like very like nonchalant. It was just like, this guy has a crush on this guy, and I was like, they're not even making a big deal out of this. I don't know why I was expecting that they were. It was just like coming from all sides. It was fantastic. I loved it. It has a very funny like relationship happening between like the main character and his love interest, because they go from like friends and their kids to enemies at the beginning of the book to like lovers, and there's a lot like in between there, and there's a lot of like stuff they have to talk about, and it's so great. If you like soccer, or if you just like reading books with LGBT characters, and I definitely recommend it, because that's why I read it, because as I mentioned, I have no clue anything about soccer. The next book that I read was Bring Me Their Hearts by Sarah Wolf. I went to Peru's Project, or Reagan's meetup, earlier this month, and after that, a few of the people from the meetup, including myself, decided to go to the nearby Barnes & Noble, and I saw this. It was just like, it was sitting on the shelf, and it was sticking out, and there was also a bookmark in it. I think I put that in another book already. And I don't know, like, I've never heard anything about it, and I read the inside cover, but it definitely sounded interesting, and I was intrigued, so I bought it because I have no impulse control, as we know. And so this follows Zara, who is a heartless, which is the thrall of a witch. Her witch has her heart in a jar, and so she can be controlled by her witch, and she has to do their bidding. Her witch is a lot nicer than the other witches, apparently. It doesn't actually force her to do stuff, but she is tasked with a quest where if she goes and masquerades as this noble girl and tries to win the heart, like romantically, of this prince, and actually steals his heart and puts it in a jar for the witch, then she will get her own heart back. And so she goes, tasked with this, and she's like, yeah, I'm just gonna kill this guy. And then there's like romance happening. It's like a forbidden romance, like seriously forbidden. I also am pretty sure that this is a retelling of Ella Enchanted. I was looking through the author's Twitter, and it was like #1 on Amazon for like young adult fantasy retellings or something. And then I was like, what is this a retelling of? But it really makes sense because, no, it just like, it really seems like it's Ella Enchanted. So I'm not completely sure about that one, but like, I'm pretty sure. And I hope it is. I don't want to spoil it, but you can kind of expect that there's going to be some drama. This also is a really interesting fantasy world because while they talk about like the witches and the magic, they don't delve a lot into that. It's a lot about the Heartless and what is going on with them. In order to survive, she has to eat like raw meat, like raw organs, like hearts and livers and stuff, and that gives her like powers. She heals really easily. There's these really cool things that kind of make her like slightly immortal, but also like not too immortal, that she is like detectable in this incredible fantasy city. Also, there's a lot of like technology, and I've never really read a fantasy novel where there was like this much technology. Like they're living in a city and like water chutes that like delivered all the mail and stuff, and I was like, I don't know what this is. It's cool. There's lots of stuff happening. I just cannot wait until the next book. I'm so excited, and I'm pretty sure this is going to be a trilogy, but it just came out this month, and so it's not going to come out until like next year at the very least. I have no idea when the release date is for the next book. It's not even listed on Goodreads, so I'm stressed. Please read this book. I definitely feel like if you like Throne of Glass, or like early Throne of Glass specifically, then you'll like this. Zara is a very snarky main character, but snarky in a way where it's not like she says the perfect thing at the perfect moment and it's like she's cool because of that. Like sometimes she messes up. Sometimes she like tries to make a joke out of things and it just doesn't work out, and like she feels kind of bad about it. And then the final book that I read in June is one of my most anticipated reads of the year. I put it in my video for that, which I will link, and that is A Girl Like That by Tanaz Bathana. This is so powerful. I started reading it and then I stopped and I read a few other things, but I finally finished it. So A Girl Like That starts, like the first chapter shows the main character, her name is Zorin, gets killed in a car accident, and from there it kind of goes through her entire life leading up to this car accident and all the things that happen to her and all the things that she does. It's called A Girl Like That because she is kind of like an outsider. She's kind of the girl that nobody else wants to hang out with because she's a rebel, she smokes, she hangs out with boys. This is set in Saudi Arabia, and it definitely shows the conservative side of the country, but it also shows it from an interesting perspective because Zorin is an expatriate. She is from India. She's also not Muslim, so when a lot of characters in this book are. This book is told from 4 perspectives, which I don't really want to get into because it kind of spoils like a little bit of it. But it's very stressful. It deals with a lot of sexism and a lot of like rape culture, and it's so like you see it from like the perspective of like the rapists and also the perspectives of the girls who things like this happen to and the girls who things like this don't happen to, and it's very sexist. There's a huge separation between what guys can do and what girls can do and what girls are held responsible for compared to what guys are held responsible for, and it's so stressful. And like obviously you know by the end of it that she's gonna die, but you're completely like the entire time you're just rooting for her. You want her to do well, you want her to overcome all these awful things in her life because she really does have a hard life. I rated this 5 stars. It was so powerful, it was so moving, and I was just, by the end of it, I was just like sitting there like I couldn't even form any response to it. Because the thing is, it is not a book that really makes you happy, but it's a book that makes you glad that you read it. As for my July TBR, I am going on vacation to Alaska in the middle of the month for a week, and so I don't really want to set myself like a huge goal. I also just got a job. I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have to read, but there's one book that I just recently started and I definitely want to get through at least a chunk of it this month. Hopefully I can finish it. It's very captivating, so I feel like I could do it. And that book is The Name of the Wind by Patrick Rothfuss. This is a fantasy book. This is the first like real adult fantasy that I'm reading that is like super long. It's like 700 pages and it's so good so far. Like I have no idea what is gonna happen. I don't really know anything at the moment. All I know is that there's a very like angsty innkeeper who might be an assassin, but I'm really not sure about that at this point. I'm only like 50 pages into it. I'm exactly 50 pages into it. But it's so good so far. I was talking to Peruse Project, or Reagan, at her meetup about fantasy books because I know that she reads a bunch of them. I was saying how I have a few fantasy books. I was asking for her advice of which I should read, and she said this was a good place to start. This one only follows one main character. Apparently it's just like a very easy starter adult fantasy book, so I'm very excited to see where this goes. It's very dramatic so far. There's weird spider things. I really have no idea what to expect from this, but I'm very excited. I'm excited to see the world building. I've heard so much about this series. And so I'm just very excited to actually get into the book. I feel like 50 pages in, especially in a book like that's this long, that's only, how many pages? It's only this many pages, and so I really have not gotten into it. So that is the end of my June wrap-up and July TBR. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know down below what books you've been reading this month or what books you plan to read in July. I would love to know. And if you want to connect with me on Goodreads, Twitter, or really any social media like that, then all the links are down below. I'd love to talk to you on those platforms as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!